in terms of influencing us. And in CSGO, he certainly dictated the way the op was played.
He was on a significantly worse team. He was on a team that couldn't actually win big titles, or if they could, it would have been by the narrowest margin, and he had to do those godlike plays to even give him a chance to win.
Every opera I see in like online that tries to replicate that, it can't do it, and there's a reason for that.
Pushes from Titan have been called and found out, but there's kennyS with two, and a third as well, and a fourth. Unbelievable play from Kenny, and he gets the ace.
I'm always worried when I see kennyS kind of frowning while he's playing. You know, you want kennyS to be smiling.
Anything could happen if Kenny was alive and he had an AWP. That's how good he was.
Does get planted still. But kennyS stuck in the sight, finding more. That's brilliant, and kennyS again up close. Oh my goodness, kennyS! This guy's absolutely insane.
Kenny Shrub didn't have your average ascent to greatness, but the French prodigy who grew up in the world of Counter-Strike has become synonymous with the game's tradition of highlight plays and even the mighty op itself. This is the story of kennyS.
Kenny, what are you doing? You've got to be kidding, that's a clutch! Oh my god!
Born in France in 1995, it's not an exaggeration to say that Kenny grew up in Counter-Strike. He would try the game for the first time at the age of 6 because his older brother Cyril was already playing. When Cyril was away at school, Kenny would get some time on the computer, and though Counter-Strike was his refuge from family issues, what he found in it was longer lived.
On a 10 ans de différence avec Kenny et déjà quand il avait 8 ans, il était déjà à notre niveau. Ensuite, on a fait une compétition locale qu'on a gagné grâce à Kenny. Il avait 11 ans à l'époque.
Kenny would return from school and play the game late into the evening, drawing concern from his mother. But those late nights allowed Kenny to make his way into France's competitive Counter-Strike scene. And not only had Kenny found a foothold in the game, he had discovered his niche in it as well. The AWP, or op, has been an important part of competitive Counter-Strike from the very beginning. The high-powered sniper rifle offers a one-shot kill with a hit to the head or chest, but is offset by a slow rate of fire and a considerable monetary investment. Despite the weapon's loud signature report, it is a precision weapon, harnessed by the sniper's reflexes to bring instant ruin to the opposition. The young Kenny showed affinity for the weapon, and while he has said that it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment that he decided to take on the sniper role, he says he feels that the weapon chose him. Working his way up through the French scene, Kenny met a player called Bless and began playing on a community Mumble server called The Wall, which is where his career would begin in earnest. With most of his early matches being played online, Kenny's prowess drew attention from some on the server.
Mais il s'est fait repérer assez rapidement, sachant qu'à cette époque, il y avait un projet d'équipe avec Malek et moi, et bon, il avait été plus ou moins testé. Je me souviens à l'époque on ne l'a pas pris parce qu'on le considérait vraiment beaucoup trop inexpérimenté et il y avait un risque d'onliner, même si moi sur ça en tout cas je l'ai toujours défendu, je sentais qu'il y avait vraiment un talent qui allait peut-être percer dans le futur.
Most players don't get the opportunity to start off with one of their region's best teams, but Kenny did. In 2011, he was trialing with Very Games, a French Counter-Strike source roster that fielded the likes of Existence, NBK, RPK, and Apex. But Kenny's debut at offline events was anything but smooth. While he was able to prove that he wasn't cheating, the pressure of the later rounds got to him, a pattern that would repeat itself later in his career.
Assez évident qu'il n'allait pas être retenu chez VG, mais bon, la PXL, il a fail, hein, c'était son premier event. Enfin, de mémoire, il n'était pas bon, quoi. Mais non, j'ai pas changé de mentalité, je savais que... Enfin, il était vraiment très jeune, quoi, et ça se voyait presque sur son visage que voilà, quoi, c'était le petit pousset, il arrivait... qu'est-ce qui se passe ici?
Individuellement très bon, mais après tout le reste, vraiment, c'était tout à revoir et tout à travailler. Donc,
I think a lot of it has to do with his playstyle. Certain teams don't necessarily favor him to be aggressive as he is. He kind of had to prove himself in that regard. But I mean, you talk about success coming through Source and whatnot. He was a young player. It's hard to get a chance when you're that young.
While Very Games would continue without Kenny, he quickly found a spot on Team Extensive. And although he hadn't made the cut with VG, he didn't view the experience negatively considering the competition he had faced. But 5 months later, Kenny would finally get his chance to join the Very Games starting roster following MK's removal.
Notre choix il s'est vite porté vers vers Kenny. Alors tout d'abord parce qu'on l'avait déjà testé, que franchement il y avait vraiment des qualités et il apportait vraiment quelque chose dans le jeu.
Enfin, c'est toujours impressionnant pour un jeune joueur de jouer avec des tels joueurs. C'est des monuments pour moi. C'était des monuments pour moi et je les regardais et je me disais mais je serai jamais à leur niveau.
Kenny and the team attended both Insomnia 45 and 46 for CS Source, taking home the first place prize at both events. But a challenge loomed on the horizon: the impending release of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Source had been the game that Kenny had built his young career in, and the move to Global Offensive was anything but easy.
If you look at the game closely, first, the game looks like Counter-Strike Source. The recoil, the graphics, everything looks like Source. But when you look at the gameplay, at the tactics and everything like that, you can really see that the game is more for 1.6.
The game's early reception was mixed, and for competitive players from both Source and CS 1.6, it felt different, and there was a lot to learn, and not a lot of time to learn it.
Moi j'étais ultra frustré parce que je venais d'arriver sur Source en tant que pro. Et voilà, 5 mois après, il y a un nouveau jeu et Source, on oublie quoi. Donc moi j'étais vraiment frustré et le jeu, sur la bêta, même mon manager Jérôme était meilleur que moi, donc j'étais assez inquiet.
Almost immediately after Global Offensive's release, the team headed to DreamHack Valencia 2012. Once he got to land, though, Kenny found his groove, making some great plays with the Op's newest incarnation.
Very Games went for this push into upper there that just didn't quite work out, but Kenny's existence could make a huge play here. Flaren in a bad spot. He is completely blind, trying to hang out on ladder train.
Oh, he actually gets it, and now it's only kennyS remaining. Huge headshot onto Kenny. Oh my God, what's going on in this little Frenchman's head?
But on the other hand, an op isn't exactly the weapon you want in a 1 versus 1. kennyS is working into the right angle, and so is the Flare, and they're about to run directly into each other. Kenny gonna pick up the advantage and able to take him down. What a huge round from Kenny.
Still, it wasn't enough to take first place. Very Games, considered by many to be the strongest Source team in the world at that time, was upended by Ninjas in Pajamas, who had been previously playing CS 1.6.
Okay, this could be it for Very Games as they're working their way into the bomb site, trying to split both ways, but they're being contended very well. They're being pushed back into white holes. McLaren onto Smiths. Steel Series, exists on the kennyS. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen.
A new rivalry was born from the convergence of both scenes in CSGO, and VG's inability to beat NIP over the following months would become a source of frustration for the team. Very Games did eventually start to catch up to NIP, but a victory against them remained elusive.
Get right position. Get right will win it for NIP Gaming.
But for Kenny, the rivalry was put on hold in the wake of the ESEA Season 13 LAN Finals. A disappointing third-place finish after a loss to Quantic Gaming meant that it wasn't VG playing NIP in the finals.
Mon kick s'est fait en rentrant, donc j'ai eu un appel de Jérôme. Il m'a dit ouais, est-ce qu'on peut se voir, est-ce que tu peux me rejoindre sur TeamSpeak, faut qu'on parle. Et j'ai dit ouais, bien sûr. Et bon, j'ai dit bien sûr, mais je savais ce qui allait m'arriver.
Days after being kicked, the young Opper was recruited by LDLC. The team had been formed from the ashes of Team Extensive's previous roster, so Kenny was familiar with many of his new teammates. While Kenny's time with LDLC would end up being short, it was here that he would finally conquer one of his biggest demons, NIP.
Match, c'est l'équipe Magician CSGO va aller chercher cette victoire. Les joueurs de l'équipe française qui sont à 2 doigts et c'est le kick de APX. Maintenant Ketra est avec 23 points de vie et c'est la victoire de l'équipe Magician, de l'équipe française.
Kenny's inexperience led to some more troubles. He and the team were upset by Epsilon at DreamHack Summer 2013.
Face au joueur de l'équipe Epsilon et ça va être la victoire de l'équipe suédoise dans cette finale.
It marked another disappointing third-place exit for Kenny. Cracks were beginning to form within the squad, and soon after, Kenny and Apex were released from LDLC. Following a brief stint with We Got Game, Kenny would eventually join up with Recursive. Prior to DreamHack Winter, his former teammate Apex approached him asking if there was an opening on the roster. Kenny didn't want to change a player before the tournament, offering instead to rebuild LDLC after the event. But Kenny would ultimately be left out of that roster and posted an angry statement that criticized both Apex and the other team members that had turned their backs on him. It was a moment where Kenny's emotions got the better of him, and one that he would later regret.
You still see on camera, like his hands are shaking at times. Like he has that really like raw adrenaline sort of emotion that goes with him, and you can certainly see him being frustrated at times, and then I'd say more frequently see him frustrated and stressed than you do happy.
Kenny would spend the next month and a half with Clan Mystic before being asked to join Titan as Shox' replacement.
Je sais que certains joueurs chez Titan à l'époque avaient quelques interrogations sur moi. Et voilà, je suis content que ça s'est passé parce que voilà, c'est à ce moment-là que je me suis le plus imposé en tant que bon joueur, j'ai envie de dire, où c'était vraiment un tournant de ma carrière. C'est le tournant de ma carrière pour moi.
Given the prior incidents with Kenny, it was an important step to getting his career back on track.
Position pretty much on the A site. PNX not going to give it up without a fight, and it's going to come down to kennyS with the AWP 1v3. We can see where he's looking now. Just gets the shot barely on MSL. Finds the second one. kennyS point blank with the no-scope.
Titan had qualified for ESL 1 Cologne 2014. But despite being considered a strong team, they failed to make it out of groups after running into Team Dignitas and Cloud9.
But that is going to be it.
After Cologne, the team was swept up into the first French shuffle in late 2014. Once the dust had settled in September, Kenny would be joined by Existence, Cali, Apex, and Maniac on Titan. Following a number of second-place finishes, Titan would eventually triumph at the DreamHack Invitational 2.
Entries and to which site they want to converge on. kennyS is just having a field day.
But as 2014 drew to a close, the team would receive bad news. Cali was banned for cheating on November 20th, which both hurt the team in the immediate sense and also prevented them from playing at DreamHack Winter 2014, which meant that Kenny would have to wait for another chance at proving himself on the big stage. For a team that had been developing and felt ready to take the event, the setback to both their play and mental state was immense. Cali's replacement would eventually be RPK, who came out of retirement to join the squad in late December. As 2015 began, the team qualified for the next major, ESL 1 Katowice. But again, they failed to get out of groups and they were eliminated by Penta. More bad news came weeks later, as Valve released a patch to CSGO that substantially changed how the AWP worked.
It's not as fluid as it was, it's not as quick, the velocity's not there. And this immediately, for the pro scene, is a massive nerf.
The change drastically altered the way that AWPers had to deal with specific angles in the game. Angles that had existed in some form within CS 1.6 and Source.
And it wasn't that it didn't have the skills suddenly, it was that it's muscle memory and it's force of habit. And you have to really dial back and relearn it. And I think because he was the one that took advantage of that movement mechanic so much, it took him a little bit longer to do so.
Because it just felt like he got gutted. Right when he was coming into his prime, when he could have been God and just taken over everything, the game was changed, and then I think that really impacted his confidence.
The drastic change, coupled with Kenny's affinity for the AWP, even inspired a joke video about what it was like to play against Titan post-nerf, complete with a Viking funeral for the rifle. The actual effect on Kenny, though, was no laughing matter, as Titan continued to slump into 2015.
The immediate result was certainly Kenny, a little bit Guardian, but certainly Kenny was hurt the most. As I talked about, he was someone who could play very close. He could move very quickly with the AWP. He could hit no scopes. He was constantly quick peeking and quick scoping. That movement mechanic was taken out quite significantly.
Titan managed top 4 placements at ESL Pro League 1, ESEA Season 18, Gfinity Spring Masters 2, and DreamHack Summer 2015. And despite his struggles, Kenny still produced the incredible moments he was known for.
And there's the peek. Kenny takes out Guardian, gets the follow-up as well, and now the third kill. Goes for the no-scope, might get it, and yes, he will! Oh man, godlike.
I mean, yes, okay, his team were set up around him, but it didn't matter. If Kenny was in a 1v3, you'd almost take positive odds for him to come out and, and just get that 1v3 and clutch it. He was so scary, to the point where the most dominant team in CSGO history, Fnatic, with Olaf Meister and everybody, right? They were like, we don't like playing against Kenny. Kenny makes me scared. All of a sudden, I don't know what to do when I'm playing against Kenny, because if I peek even a pixel, I could be dead.
Just knowing that they're close as well. It's going to be the old battle again. JW versus Kenny, and Kenny comes out on top. JW was 1 pixel away with that shot, and look at Titan. Here comes the speed right into the A bomb site. They're not missing a step. Kenny with the second shot.
But the results were not what fans expected from such a high-profile roster. The slump brought consequences, and when the second front shuffle completed in July 2015, Kenny was once again on the move, heading to Team Envious with Apex. Yet again, he and Shox had switched teams. Both Titan and Envy had been underperforming before the swap, but afterwards was a different story. Envy went on to win IEM Gamescom against Danish upstarts Team Solo Mid.
Work with the bomb plant's gonna take 5 seconds alone. He's gonna go for it behind the fountain. Kerrigan just gonna charge him down. He's gonna miss quite a few pistol shots. kennyS, he picks up the kill! Kerrigan should not have, but then he gets the second! kennyS clutches the round!
Not only was it a win, but it was a decisive one. Although it wasn't a major, the event was a proving ground for the newly formed roster. Weeks later, the team was facing down their first major appearance at ESL 1 Cologne 2015. Envious would emerge from Group B as the top team, but they weren't satisfied with just that. In the quarterfinals, Envy cut through Na'Vi.
Is he gonna try and go huge here? kennyS on site, straight in his face, doesn't hit the no-scope, doesn't hit the pistol! Oh, for the nine! kennyS! Would you believe it? The balls on that man to go for that play. And Envy surely now with the plant going down will close it out. And who would it be but kennyS to take the semi-finals?
Then they cast aside TSM in the semi-finals.
Envy, they're punishing TSM. Dupree goes down. And it all comes down to Sipnix here. 1v4. He's got 15 seconds and Kenny denies it. Envy, they make their grand finals here in Cologne.
A surging Fnatic awaited them in the grand finals, and Kenny was one best-of-3 series away from winning his first major. But Fnatic's Crims had other plans.
They heard the plant happy, tried to go aggressive, tried to rattle the shots through, but as you saw MBK, he's going full on. He's just ready to pounce on through, and why would they slow down? There's the flash, that's going to catch Crims out, they're going to push on through. MBK gets one, but Crims with a spray down, he gets himself the triple, and Fnatic are not done yet.
That was the turning point, a round that should have been an easy win. Instead, it collapsed in such spectacular fashion that the victory seemed impossible.
It's going to require a miracle and nothing less for Happy to make it out. I don't think there's any chance. Flusher looking to end this. It's going to be a third title for Fnatic. They win a third major championship in global offensive.
Taking second should still have been an encouraging result, but it wasn't for Kenny.
Kenny must be devastated right now.
He had probably the worst game of his career on that cobblestone game.
J'ai vraiment essayé d'être fort, mais une fois arrivé au backstage, je pouvais pas contenir les larmes, quoi.
Despite their disappointment, Kenny and Envious would return with a vengeance at DreamHack Open London a few weeks later, taking first place after beating Team Solo Mid in the grand finals. With renewed confidence, the team set their sights on the next Valve major, DreamHack Cluj-Napoca. The event would see Envy top their group and cast aside Fnatic in the bracket stage. But an absolute nail-biter against G2 Esports in the semifinals nearly dashed their championship hopes. With Envy down one map after dropping Dust 2, G2 managed to force overtime on Inferno. In the middle of the second overtime, Envy were down 3 rounds, and as Kenny remembers it, the team was not communicating properly. But against the odds, and in defiance of another failed major run, they won the map in the third overtime and rode that momentum through the series.
4 versus 4 now as the whole CT side is rotating, but Happy is annihilating the entire economy. 3-man spray down, Mouse won all day, 3 headshots for him. Only Fox remains now versus 4 players. He'll take one, and that's going to be that. Envy will take it in one of the most difficult victories I have ever seen in Counter-Strike.
In the grand finals, they'd face a familiar adversary, Na'Vi. There they won Train, Na'Vi's map, in a close game. But it was on Cobble where they dominated.
And now it's a 1 versus 1, AWP versus AWP, Kenny versus Guardian, and this could be a huge round for either player. And Kenny, he steals it away, it doesn't even matter. There's the shot, and the money for Na'Vi is gonna be reset.
MBK removes Zeus, and it's not looking good.
Oh, and a second headshot there. Flamey gonna be gone. Hiroshima, and there it is. Executive down. Envy winning the last major of 2015 and the second title in a row here for three of these players. The first for Kenny and Apex. What a victory.
Just under 4 years since his first LAN appearance, Kenny, a player that many had already described as the world's best AWPer, had finally won his first major.
Et surtout que ouais, le parcours a pas été facile quoi. On était quasiment out en demi et voilà, c'était une première victoire en major et c'est jouissif.
Unbeknownst to them at the time, Cluj-Napoca was also the highest competitive point that this incarnation of the roster would ever reach. After more inconsistent results, the team dropped Kiyoshima and brought in Devil. The move did little to improve the team's fortunes, and their first couple of LAN performances were poor.
You have to have like that complete and utter arrogance, right? You have to know without a shadow of a doubt that you are the best person on that server and that whatever your will is, it will happen, right?
There's no goddamn way that he's gonna do this. He's got no health. Cole gonna go for it. He gets the shot. Kenny, what are you doing? You've got to be Kenny. That's a clutch. Oh my god.
And once you lose that sense of invincibility, that arrogance, knowing it, it's so hard to get it back in a game like that. It's so hard to get it back. And I think Kenny was kind of cast out into the wild for a while there.
Then the unthinkable happened. After years of missing each other, the latest French shuffle saw the creation of a G2 team that, for the first time, included both kennyS and Shox. Dubbed by some to be the French super team, the roster also fielded NBK, Apex, and Body. And in his quest for further glory with G2, Kenny has reminded everyone why he should be feared.
Behind it, and indeed one is. Kenny with a simply rude peek into C's.
On top of Mustang, kennyS in heaven. kennyS with the double kill and the triple for the round and the quad.
After the action, Kenny first at the bat, he finds a shot, but he's being pressured up close. He needs Shox to support him. He's watching for a flank, but what? Squad! Oh my god, Kenny gets an incredible kill against Sixer!
Are going to rely on Kenny to deal with the players from long. Able to take down one. There's more where that came from though, but for Kenny, it is simply too easy.
Meaning Happy will just about survive. Still on 6 HP, gonna go for the push, gets the no-scope onto Scream. That's ridiculous, leaving Happy. He's just gonna go straight for the defuse. Kenny getting the timing, and he will even get the kill in the end. Wonderful stuff from Kenny.
Middle, but it's quickly dealt with, and now it's just a cleanup for G2 as they will take that lead back.
There he is, kennyS with a 4K.
Which is going directly toward kennyS!
Kenny has grown up in CS, and he's got plenty of career ahead of him. And regardless of what comes next, he has emerged through a battle against his own emotional nature as truly one of the best to ever pick up the AWP.
Teams completely changed how they played the game just because of one player, because of Kenny. That's how scarily good he was.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content just like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button.